Welcome back to Super Ginge, my ginger leak. We are here for another episode of Vicious Villains. To my left is my apprentice, Kevin Tierney. And we have our very special guest, one of the founders of October 15. You may recognize him from That Mental Ginger Show. If not, check out his video. It is Mark McFarlane. Mark, how you doing, my boy?
I'm all right, my lad. How are you?
I'm surviving. Just about. It's quite a good one because we're all dads on this episode. So we all know what kids are hell. Mm-hmm. Definitely, man. It's just been one of those ones.
Children of evil.
You're getting warmed up already. I like it a lot.
Yes.
So for this episode,
it was going to be Ancient Spirits of Ginger.
Well,
sorry, man.
Hey, we are like the only acceptable form of racism left in this world. There's a place where you can.
That is very true.
Yeah, where they can set up a national Kick a Ginger Day and it gets 10,000 people joining up in 24 hours.
I've got a bit more grey and white in my beard now, but I used to have quite a bit of ginger, as I think 99% of Scottish guys do.
Yeah, so the beard always seems to be the one that gets the gingerness. I was actually speaking to a guy in my local Tesco and he said that he tried to dye the ginger out of his beard and gave himself third-degree burns.
I'm lucky. I've never actually had any ginger in my beard. It's either been brown or the grey, as you can see. The grey and the grey.
Well, in fairness,
grey every day.
It was when you always
time for everything.
It was when I got the whole thing. It was like, she had pubes ginger, and I'm like, no,
Aye.
No, they're albino. Looks like
Billy. Like a badger.
It looks like Billy Connolly down there. I was like, of course it is, you stupid fucknut. Unreal.
How to brag without bragging? You're saying you've got a big yin down there.
Hey, I'm not saying anything. I just let the fact I produced identical twin boys speak for itself. Yeah, it's always fun. Well, considering like the last episode that we recorded, Kev, we were talking about how I think Super Mario was just a crack addict. Well, I think we're off to a no bad start with this one.
Was that because he's hitting the pipe all the time?
I just think like he's constantly around shrooms that make him like double and triple in size. He's chasing after a Princess Peach. I think he's just chasing after ass constantly. Only a stoned man could think up Bowser. The amount of times that he's always firing shells, it's like he's one pump chump. I'm pretty sure that his brother Luigi's a figment of his imagination. And something that looks like a mushroom, why would you call it Toad? Yoshi, I'm pretty sure he's just like trying to ride his Alsatian dog and just thinks it's like this weird green dino thing. I went right down this rabbit hole. Even after I came off it, I'm like, Mario was definitely on some sort of crack. It's got to be on crack. It's unreal. The fact that like Yoshi can come in different colors as well, that's him just hitting the eckies.
Yoshi can come in different colors.
Definitely, he can come in different colors.
That brings a whole new meaning. If Yoshi's his Doug and he's riding his Doug,
yeah,
you've taken this to a right dark place. I'm glad I'm in black and white.
Hey, it brings whole new meaning to the term Rainbow Road, my friend. And for someone that's not really a gamer, I think I'm doing no bad. But that's why I think Wario is like his big black dog, like the one that's trying to bring him back to normality and reality, and he's just like, no, get to. It's like I like it here in this Mushroom Kingdom. Oh.
I'm seeing there's a potential here that you've got for like a crossover between your version of Mario and Total Recall.
I can definitely see that happening. It'd be better than the reboot.
It's like Mario's in there at Recall having a schizoid embolism and they're just trying to get, look, Mario! Luigi's in tears next to him. Mario, you gotta come out of this trance. You're on a holiday in your mind.
I would want to do it a bit more sinister.
He's freaking out Murdoch, everybody.
I'd want to do it more sinister. Maybe like the Buffy season 6 episode where it turned out like she was in a psych ward. Then right at the end, it was like she's got back to what her normal life. But at the same time, they left you hanging because they still showed her in the psych ward. And we're like, is this real? Is it not real? And we're like, oh, questions. That's what I would want to do with this Mario. I would want to keep it really dark. If they can now If they can now make Winnie the Pooh go out and slaughter people, I'm pretty sure we can get away with this with Mario. We could do this, my friend. We could do this.
Anything's possible.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Well, and now that I've sufficiently freaked out everybody, it's giving us a kind of an 80s vibe. And it's because we're going back to the 80s with vicious villains. We're villains that are fighting for today. Kev Tierney is taking us down the path of the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Mark is fighting for the one and only Mumm-Ra from Thundercats.
Oh, yes.
For anybody that is not aware of the rules for vicious villains or super fights, first of all, go back and watch the other episodes and come back to this. It'll fill you in. But for those who are just wanting to skip straight to this one, we break it down into 3 categories. The first one is cultural relevance. That is where we decide how our villains have impacted pop culture in their lives as a whole. Secondly, we move on to abilities, both physical and mental. That's the kind of straight up who would win in the fight. And then finally, the third one, and it's a very interesting argument, one that seems to trip people up, is universal significance. This is where if you took this character out of their respective world, how would that world cope without them? Would Shredder being out of the Ninja Turtles world mean they had nobody to fight? Would Mumm-Ra out of Thundercats mean, that we just had a bunch of guys in loincloths doing nothing? We don't know. That's what we're here to find out. And as always, as Kev is one of the regulars on here, we let the guests start when it comes to the first round fight for cultural relevance. So, Mark, how do you feel that Mumm-Ra has impacted culture?
I think everybody... Right, first, I will concede that culturally speaking, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a whole has had a far bigger impact than the Thundercats have. I think, as much as I would hate to admit it, Thundercats was my thing. Like Thundercats, A-Team, He-Man, all that kind of stuff. I was never a Turtles guy. Never a Turtles guy. For some reason, I just couldn't get into it. So this wave of Turtle mania that swept over the country, swept over the world, sort of passed me by. I was in there with my wee Thundercats and all that kind of stuff. So,
did you have all the toys as well, like I did, with the action figures?
I still have my Tigra, my wanking action Tigra.
Yes. There was a lot of wanking action going over Tiger. I don't think anybody could question that one.
I think that was more Chitara, boys. Let's be honest.
I went either way. I wasn't bothered. That the age I was.
Very progressive of you, Andrew.
I'm culturally significant. What can I say?
But yeah, so I think everybody knows. I think maybe most people know of Mumm-Ra, but the impact that him as a character's probably had on them is probably quite insignificant. And I don't want to argue your case for you, but I've got nothing for this one. It's like it's like David versus Goliath, and David doesn't even have his sling here on this one.
Hey, you could still just give him a swift boot and run away. Think about when it comes to, like, for example, like the reboots and the reruns of it. Turtles has had God knows how many, in just the course of our lifetimes.
Well,
we count at least 4 or 5. Thundercats has had, I think, only 2. One's been great and one's been so it's still a 50% success rate. And you could argue that there's more duds of Turtles reboots than there is of successes.
Yeah, well, I would argue that, that's actually a really good point, Andrew. The 2011 Thundercats reboot was fantastic. Like, it was a genuinely great series that got cancelled far too soon. And it's obviously a sad story that you hear quite a lot about quality programmes, but it really it took what they did with the 80s cartoon, which was fine. It was an 80s cartoon though, and it was what it was. But the creators, they sort of took what they had there and they thought, let's actually have a look at what this society's like. And it really broke it down, and you had like like commentary on racism and society. Like the cats were the top tier of the society. So you had like Lionel's dad as the king, and Lionel as this young prince who was a bit spoiled, and Tigra's he's from, I think he was looking from a mountain clan that got adopted in a kind of Theon Greyjoy style situation with Ned Stark. He was like taken in, and it was a truce. I might be remembering that probably wrong, and if I sincerely apologise to the 2011 reboot fans.
If you are wrong, I would say it's a brilliant direction to go down for a future reboot. Thundercats meets Game of Thrones. I think that would be fucking fantastic.
Absolutely. But that was kind of what this was like, though. There was tons of resentment against the status quo, and then loads of things like betrayal and finding ancient technology, and it was, if anybody has not seen it, get out there, try and find it somewhere. Plus they do this really brief orchestral version of the Thundercat theme, and it's incredible, and you're like, where's the rest of that? I want to hear that.
Definitely.
Because it's just like dun, 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 and you're like, oh Jesus. It's like 80s guitars and things like that's amazing as well, but you want to hear that sort of Hans Zimmer version as well.
Yeah, lots of whams can never go wrong.
There you go.
Yeah, well, there we go. Let's see what you had an argument there. Just needed slightly poked and prodded out. We got it
You
there.
just needed to get me excited, Andrew.
Of course, and that's what this is about. See if we can't get excited about this and have fun. What is the point in doing it, my friend?
Exactly.
Right. So, Kev, when it comes to the Turtles, as Mark has rightly touched on, there has been maybe like a broader significance of the Turtle Mania that went on. But at the same time, they have had like quite a few duds. I mean, they had a film with Vanilla Ice in it. I mean, come on, that could easily just put this to bed straight away. So, come on, let's see.
That could right. Vanilla Ice was in one of the films, right? Just shut the computer now. No, like you said,
at the same time though, it didn't affect Shredder in particular.
It didn't, And like you say, with the Turtles, the series and that, they've had more hits than misses. There's only been like 3 or 4 series that's not really worth watching. But if you go into it further, you've got the comics as well, going further back than the TV shows, and some of them get really dark, especially with Shredder.
Yeah, definitely. When was it that Turtles came out in comic form? Was it the 50s or the 60s? It was.
No, the first one was 84 or 85, I think, roughly.
Wow.
So it wasn't too long before the series.
Interesting. Well, so why do you think they went down the Saturday morning cartoon route with it?
Money. It was total money.
The
somebody at Fox was like, these comics are doing really well, and it was like independent comics at the time, and it's like, they're selling really well. They're going up against Marvel and DC, and they're beating them sometimes. We need to go and buy this. We need to get a show for this.
Would you say, like, in terms of comic books, if we put it into like an analogy, like a wrestling analogy, would you say that the Turtles was kind of like the ECW that was coming up with the ECW WWE kind of style?
It was Boom Studios, I think, originally, and they were like on the lower end of the comic sales. They went to artists and said, "What have you got? We'll publish it for you." And now they're one of the top 4 studios because of Turtles. They concentrate mostly on the Turtles comics, but a lot of other ones have came for this and then went on to other studios like Image Comics.
Yeah,
they buy a lot of the stuff and like, right, we'll get you on. And the thing, the most recent comic was actually The Last Ronin. All the Turtles are dead except one of them. And it's like a society, and it's like, I'll only say what one's left alive because it goes into that. But,
spoilers,
aye. And it's just him trying to get redemption for the death of his brothers. And
it's pretty cool, like, actually.
Really dark and really good.
Sorry, is that the one Freddie Williams does the art for?
Aye.
Yeah, I've seen some stills of it. Some of the images, they look brilliant. I've got to ask, like, we're all dads here as well. We're a dad clan. Do any of you have to get subjected to the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot that it came on? Was it? I think it was 2020, 2021.
No, that skipped me by, thankfully.
You lucky bastards. It was, what for me, it was awful. Well, but it has a lot of fans. But they changed some things up? Like, for one, like they don't all look alike. Like Raph is basically built like a giant tank, and like Donatello's like this wee tiny skinny thing. Raph's the ipso facto leader of the Turtles rather than it being Leonardo. Like they've all got these weird kind of like like superhuman power kind of things going on. They've bastardized Splinter. They've turned him into basically a fat old dementia rat. Like it's absolutely horrible. It is one of the worst things I've ever seen, and I've sat through Thomas and Friends All Engines Go, and I was still like that. No, I'm out, I'm done. It's horrible. So, and like, I'm okay with humor kind of laced into things like with Marvel and stuff. I'm okay with it, but this is so saturated with really kind of cheap one cut humor that you're just like, oh my god, no wonder this is Nickelodeon. This is fucking horrible. What? It's like someone actually took brain cells and went, right, we're going to murder you and drop you in a vat of acid, and whatever comes out, this is what we're going to make this show. It was so horrible. But because it was bright colors, my kids were watching it, and I'm like, you two are morons.
Mate, I was honestly listening to every point you were making, but I just constantly thinking fat old dementia rat. If nothing else comes out of this, fat old dementia rat should be something you hear shouted on a Glasgow street.
That is basically it. We'll just shout fat old dementia rat. Because
I'm going to knife you. Shut up, you fat old dementia rat.
I will take that as copyright. I will run with it.
Oh, the Scottish remake, that's what Shredder should shout.
Aye.
Shut up, you fat old dementia rat.
Yeah, and that was another thing, like, because Shredder is in it in a kind of loose way. And you would not think that like Splinter was ever like his kind of mentor. Like you just think, well, that's bonkers. You just don't believe it at all. You wouldn't believe that, like, there was a backstory with them. Well, it just looks like it's just, yep, you're fat and you look very ugly and sweaty. Well, you look like you should be on the register. Well, it's like just this old man with 4 young turtles in a sewer. That screams Savile to me. Well, especially when it's done in this style, you're just like, something dodgy is going on here, man. And that's bad when you can take. Well, there's not even like guys like there's not even like Casey Jones or anything. Like, I mean, at that point, anyway, like you had April O'Neil, who was like woke kind of style, and I was just like that she was like a teenager or something. And I was like, yeah, that's just wrong considering all the things that the fantasies ever used to have about April O'Neil back in the 80s. It felt like I had to go for a shiver afterwards. It was horrible.
That's the thing with all these like reboots and stuff. It's like they have to get their political agenda in with everything. There's no backstory. It's just about what's happening right now. That happened. We need to put something like that into it now. Oh, something else has happened there. We need to get this in. And it's like there's no actual story.
Mm-hmm. Never mind story. Let's talk about current thing, whatever that is.
Aye. Yeah.
Funny you mentioned that. My partner and I were watching an old Robin Williams stand-up from 2002.
Yeah.
And obviously Robin Williams, comic genius.
Absolute gold.
It was all fucking political jokes about George W. Bush, and for nearly an hour and a half, it was the least funny thing I've ever watched.
Wow.
Because it was dated, because they had inserted, because he'd inserted whatever politics was at the time. I mean, obviously, no fan of George W. Bush or any that kind of nonsense, but it wasn't funny because it dated. Yeah. And that's the way all these things are going. The reason I think that every one of us still, obviously say I was never a Turtles guy, but the reason we all love things like Thundercats, the A-Team, bloody He-Man, all that kind of stuff, from back then, let's not talk about any reboots. Mm-hmm. Kevin Smith. We love those things because they didn't have any of that. They
Mhm.
were entertainment for entertainment's sake. They told good stories and they were fun. They weren't trying to bash us over the head with whatever political issue that they thought was important at the time. They might have had them in private, but they certainly kept it out of their entertainment.
Yeah, and if they tried to do something like kind of raise awareness or something, it was more subtle. It was
Subtle, exactly.
it was on a level that, you know, adults would get it and kids would just take it as given. Wouldn't really kind of roll with it. And one of the things that you notice in the 80s, that a lot of ones, like for example, like your He-Mans, your G.I. Joes, they all started as toys first and then moved into like your kind of media and your comics. Whereas Thundercats and Turtles, what were, you know, what was Thundercats like a property before it became a TV show? I know Turtles was.
I could be wrong, but I think Thundercats was designed as a toy range as well. I mean, I could be wrong with that.
I think you're right. Toy first.
Right. Or at the very least, it was possibly sort of developed around about at the same time. That might have been a thing.
Yeah.
But I know, like these cartoons as well back then, they were like a breeding ground for like really big writers. Now, I mean, the offhand one I can think is like, I think Paul Dini got his start on He-Man and stuff like that. You know, they got like Batman the animated series, quite possibly the greatest animated series ever made.
Hell yeah.
Come at me, fucking Airbender fans.
Yeah, yes.
But
unpopular opinion, I don't like Airbender.
I've never seen it, so
I have not seen it. I can't judge.
Like
I can't judge. I've not seen it.
It's one of those things. Like, I don't know about you guys, but the more you hear somebody banging on about it, the less you want to see it.
Yes. Yep. There's a lot of things like that where I'm just like, if they keep going on about it, the less likely I am going to go anywhere near it. I don't think it helped that the first interpretation I had was the Shyamalamaverse of it, and I was like, oh god, I was like, this is horrible. No. I was like, and then everybody's like, but the source material, and I'm like, nope, I've got a Shyamalama ding dong mouth that ain't going nowhere. No, that's me. I'm done. I'm out the game. So yeah, well, it's been a very interesting round. I got to say, Mark, you got some good licks in. I've got to say, when we got you, when we poked the bear about the reboot, it was like, oh, I forgot about that. Hey,
I keep forgetting that I'm not restricted to original. I think it's all media. So
it's all media and all in all forms. Any way that you can win a point, you use it to your advantage.
Sorry, just to confirm, I did check. The Thundercats franchise was simultaneously launched as a line of action figures produced by LJN and the syndicated series. So
so it was one of those. There we go. Well, because that was the thing with the 80s. There was like, they'd either bring out the toys first, and then they would kind of build a wee lore around it and then kind of go into it. Because I think Transformers was the same route as well.
Apparently, actually, Masters of the Universe was done the same way as well.
Yeah. So there was and I think that was something that was very unique of its time as well. I mean, I'm know them mainly from the Netflix show The Toys That Made Us.
Exactly. Yeah.
We saw a lot of that. Very great series, and narrated by Patton Oswalt. Definitely prefer narrating that than the fucking Goldbergs. That was good for a while, and then it just went whew. It just jumped off a cliff, and that's what happens if you do shows in the past. If they go like, look at that 70s show, it ran for 8 seasons, and it started in 1976.
Aye. I know the Goldbergs got kind of tried to get around it by saying it was June the 5th, 1980 something.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Like in the first series, they talk about like, you know, the Berlin Wall coming down. That was like in 88 or 89. It was close to the it was close to the end of it, and I'm like, and that's in your first series, and you're bringing this up. And
they say that he's got the Revenge of the Jedi poster up on his wall alongside things that it's very sort of, oh god, I can't forget the term, but it's wrong, and you don't care.
Yes. Yeah, it's like they know it's just like that for that sake, but they're nerds like myself that are like, hold on a minute, I'm watching you, and I watch you.
Yeah, but I think their idea is that as long as they're sort of using that nostalgia to tell whatever story they want, which is fair enough. I mean, like 90% of the audience is like, I don't give a shit whether watching The Wiz or The Wizard, sorry, and they've got the power glove 8 years before it was invented.
Yeah, definitely. So what I'll do, like, for a wee bit of a a difference for this one because like, we'd had a couple of tangents. We love tangents in any media I do. You know that by now. Tangents are my thing. So I'll give you like just a wee kind of couple of sentences to round off what you think is the most significant parts of cultural relevance for your argument. So, Mark, what would you say were the significant parts of your argument?
I think the significant parts of my argument was that there has never been a mashup rap made of the Shredder singing along to Wu-Tang Clan, and Mumm-Ra has. Oh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Give me the mic so I can take it away. Oh, for a natural charge, bon voyage, home of the Dodgers, Brooklyn squad, yeah.
Oh my god!
It's on YouTube. Look at it.
We don't need to just repeat this over and over again. That was fucking brilliant. Oh my god! Oh man, that is the first time we have had a Mumm-Ra rap on any type of media I've created, and that's just justified you being here 100%.
Mum-Rap, if you will.
Mum-Rap.
Mum-Rap. There we go.
Right.
And he's a mummy. He's rapped. It's so many levels.
Oh man, it's so meta. It's so meta. Right, Kev, what you said, what do you think was your couple of points for your argument that would sum it up for you? Oh, I think he's frozen.
I think the internet knows I've won this.
I think the internet is trying to stop him from fighting. It's trying to stop him. Oh, he's back. He's back. Right, what would you say was...
I'm back.
It might have been that he just paused it to get all the laughs out before he came up with his point.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, a wee bit. There's not much you can say that can beat a Mumm-Ra rap. But
that just sounds like a really shit Nando's dish, doesn't it?
It does.
A Mumm-Ra rap.
Gentlemen, tonight, get yourself a Mumm-Ra rap for only $7.99. Guaranteed to send you to the Black Pyramid. Recoiling in fear as you see what this Mumm-Rap is stuffed with.
Oh man, brilliant! Absolutely brilliant. This is why I love doing these shows. Like just great. Well, we started out with Mario being on shrooms to talking about a Mumm-Rap and Nando's.
Nando's Mumm-Rap will have you shouting thunder. Oh!
Yes. Oh my god. Right. Kev will have to fake an internet connection freeze again so he can get his argument out.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, I'll shut up and let you argue. Sorry.
Right, your sum up.
The sum up is there's been more of Shredder in the universe for a lot longer. We've not had as much time with Mumm-Ra as we have with Shredder. He's always there in the background in any Turtles iteration. He's always one of the main bad guys there. And you can't really have the Turtles without him.
Oh, he's planting the seed for the third round already.
Of course. What a day.
Foreshadowing. This is what we call, what we've now established, these are the Nick Cage moments.
Nick Cage.
For anybody that is new to this round, in our very first fight, Deadpool v Batman, and Kevin got me with a great Ghost Rider argument, to which point I said, "You Nick Caged me." So it has now become a term. We always look for a Nick Cage moment during these battles. He may be planting the seed for one. His time will come. Mm-hmm. I gotta say, guys, it was very good arguments, very strong. The fact that I did this the sum up and you just hit out with a Mumm-Ra rap. I think for internet's sake, I think we have won the internet. I think we can call that one. It's a win for the internet.
I can't claim that as mine, though. Much as I would love to, I can't claim that as mine.
Yeah. But the fact that you brought it up and used it in an argument, I was very impressed.
So was I. It was quite off the cuff.
Yeah. That's what we say. That's what I love about it. So sometimes the things that are off the cuff are the ones that that catch everybody off guard. But based on the overall kind of arguments and how it links in to cultural relevance, I've got to give it to Kev for this round.
Of course.
I think it's just there's more media, there's more ways to explore. And yeah, I think he's building. So
That's
yeah,
100% fair, absolutely.
yep. But I got to say, Mark, that was a lot better fight than you even gave yourself credit for. Before you started,
Thank you very much.
You didn't.
Cheers, man.
You were like, I don't know how I'm gonna compete with this. You put up a damn good fight.
Nah, but that was me that was the old rope-a-dope. I was like, I
Yes.
don't know how I'm going to argue. Bam! Oh, baby, I like it raw. There you go.
It was the reverse psychology of you.
No.
Well, that's where we can tell.
It's only downhill from here, man.
Well, we never know. So round 1 goes to the Shredder. Now we move on to round 2, and that is abilities. This is where we analyze the abilities, both physical and mental, of each other's opponents and see who would win in an out-and-out fight between Mumm-Ra and Shredder. And Mark, as you got the first round off the start, we'll jump into it with Kev this time. So how do you feel that Shredder would do in a fight against Mumm-Ra?
Well, usually with Shredder, he's going up against 4 or 5 people at a time with the Turtles and Casey Jones, all jump them at the once. In a one-on-one battle, not one of them has ever taken him down. He's never been taken down by one person. It always takes more, at least 3. And even at times, Shredder's taking out all 4 of the Turtles. And that's not when he's Super Shredder, that's just when he's actually Shredder.
I was actually going to bring that up. But we've had different iterations of Super Shredder. The one I always remember is, The Secret of the Ooze, which on reflection is not the best film in the world.
It's not.
Well, it's not. There's a lot of things have not aged well in that film. We'll say that.
No.
Is there any other media where you've seen Super Shredder that you think has been like kind of the definitive Super Shredder?
Probably just the cartoons. There's one of the comics as well where like Ultra Super Shredder, he's like 3 times the height of the Turtles standing on each other. So there's like 4 of them and he's like the height of them. And it's like, yeah, they're never going to take him down. And he literally just, no, they don't. They have to find an antidote for the Super Shredder serum thing. And obviously Donatello does find a way to do it.
Yeah. So basically, like the Ultimate Super Shredder essentially is Bane.
Basically, aye. He's doped up.
Yeah. He's just like off his tits on crack. We're back to crack again, my friends.
Always comes back to it.
Always comes back to crack. It's just so ironic. It's like I'm the most. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do any type of drugs, aside from antidepressants.
But you're mad for the crack.
But I'm mad for crack.
I hear it's quite Moorish.
Maybe I just really, really need my hole. It's like I'm just constantly talking about crack. It could just be like I'm just desperate to get some.
There's every chance.
There's every chance. And Alison recently got her hair dyed this weekend. And she's now got like that kind of red tinge going. And I swear, see if it wasn't that specific time of the month. Yeah. Even then, it wouldn't have bored me. It would have bored her. But just make sure she was asleep. Anyway, as Mark is quickly going, this has been a lovely evening. We have to bring him back and let's see what he can say about Mumm-Ra. First of all, do you know what the specific powers of Mumm-Ra, kind of how his origins kind of came about, and what's his abilities in general?
I do know his abilities. There's some canon discontinuity where he actually originates. I think in the comics he was a legit ancient Egyptian. If I'm remembering it wrong, but he's if you say it quickly, his name sounds like wank. So
yes,
that's fucking villain material right there. Like good guy, wank.
That reference.
I have to say though, even if Mumm-Ra didn't have a load of powers, and this will be a deep cut wrestling reference, if he was fighting Super Shredder, all he'd need to do is go for his knees.
Oh, could Mark have just got the Nick Cage moment? It's very interesting.
Big old Kevin Nash and his gammy knees.
Oh.
But yeah, if he wasn't just having a swipe at Kevin Nash's mad knees, Mumm-Ra has God, he's got the ability to fly. He can cast spells. He can throw energy bolts. So already that against a ninja who fell in the cutlery drawer is quite insignificant. And that's before he charges up and becomes Mumm-Ra the Ever-Living. And then he does the whole ancient spirits of evil transform this decayed form into Mumm-Ra, the Ever-Living. And then he's just fucking superhuman. He's got superhuman physical strength. He can fly. And every other ability that he had before is souped up beyond, like,
Yeah.
That's, I inevitably had to run out of energy eventually. He's like, I need spells.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah, he can amplify those abilities to a nearly cosmic level. He's, as I say, superhuman strength. He can retain his undead status, so you can't kill him. Like, even if you defeat him, he just sort of creeps back into his crypt and recharges. So he has to revert to that mummified form, get back into the sarcophagus. But there are some weaknesses, but when you're a master of magic and can turn yourself into a giant blue muscle guy, then who can fire out lightning bolts, then you're in a bit of trouble there. Shredder.
It's the same deal, like you said, like, for Shredder, go for the knees. Like Mumm-Ra, just go for the casket. Can't regenerate if the casket's fucked.
But you need to get to that casket past this giant blue flying superhuman strength magician.
Right, and what about in terms of like their minions? I mean, we know, Kev, like, explain the foot soldiers for Shredder. Like, how do you think they would impact? Would they just be like cannon fodder, like to distract so he could get round and smash the coffin? Or what do you think?
He would totally use them as cannon fodder. He would throw every single one of them at Mumm-Ra to distract them so that he could get to the sarcophagus. He would throw his granny at Mumm-Ra if it meant that he could take him out.
Grandma.
Shredder has no morals.
Grandma, sorry.
Brilliant.
He has no soul. He'll use anything to defeat who he's fighting. He doesn't have any morals. So, do I have to kill these three folk to kill him, right? No bother. / they're dead, right? Let's go.
The thing is, though, like, Mumm-Ra will happily wipe them out in a heartbeat.
But does Mumm-Ra have any minions?
He's got a few minions. You just have to bear with me.
He's Wikipedia.
They're all sort of, there was like Jackal Man, and they were all something. Teacher Man. I'm having a Wikipedia. Just as in my defence, like I was subbed in at the last minute. I was preparing for another SmackDown, but
we got let down. Come on, guys, better than that. You're better than that. Well, I mean, in fairness, like when it comes to like Shredder's abilities, like he's kind of like the General Grievous of the Turtles. Is like he's got all the armor, but there is the soft flesh underneath. You just go and get it. But it's getting to that flesh. It's the problem.
The thing against Shredder is he's mortal. He can die. So,
I mean,
but see, that's the thing. I mean, Mumm-Ra can't. You can only defeat him, and he'll always come back. Because the thing about Mumm-Ra is like he represents evil itself in that Thundercats universe. So, by necessity, if there must be good, then there must be evil. So Mumm-Ra will always exist. There is literally no defeating him.
Well, I wonder who would win in a fight, in a side tangent between Mumm-Ra and Dracula, because they both just constantly come back. They would just, eventually, maybe after a couple of centuries, it'd be like, it's getting boring.
I think pretty early, Mumm-Ra would sort of twig onto that. You just need to chuck him outside during the day.
But even then, like you watch a Dracula movie, it doesn't matter how many times they kill him in any way, he just always seems to come back. But I wonder when it gets to the point where they're just like, we're just going around the circles here, mate.
When they're not making any money.
Yeah.
Aye.
That'll probably be it. Definitely. But so have you had time to Wikipedia the weaknesses?
This is absolutely dreadful. No, I can't find it. But I vaguely
But
remember, like, there
that
was
could be
like
something for you though. Like you can't find the weaknesses straight off the bat, so it's harder to
they.
pick for them.
I know that like in the reboot series, he's like the minions that he had were far more competent. Like they were nasty creatures in their own right.
Yeah.
Like I'm so tired and I can't remember names and shit like that.
Yeah.
But he'd had, like, yeah,
When-
he was surrounded himself. It wasn't like your typical, like it wasn't like Shredder, for instance, with Big
Aye.
Stupid Bebop and Rocksteady
Ooh.
to go and do his dirty work.
Oh, we never
He
even
had
got
guys.
we never got into Bebop and Rocksteady as well. Like those were two minions that I think they've been given a great disservice like, in a lot of the media. I think one of the best interpretations of them was actually, I think it was the 2012 series kind of reboot, when it was the CGI, like Seth Green, I think, voiced Leonardo at the time.
Aye.
But they were good iterations then, because I loved they done the crossover with the 80s ones. Well, and
They
it
were
was,
a bit more competent as well.
yeah, and it was 80s Shredder and Krang with the 2012 Bebop and Rocksteady. Well, and they almost took them all down. They were so close, and then Bebop and Rocksteady were like, wait, why are we destroying the world? We live on the world. We like the world. Well, and that was the kind of, and I was like, it's actually quite enlightened. Well, where they're like, wait, if we destroy the Earth, like we're all screwed. We all die. So that's a pretty rubbish endgame. Well, so I think that was a good part of like them getting, a couple of the reboots under the belt to give them that respect. But yeah, then they just go back to making the bumbling idiots. Like another incarnation, you're like, come on, guys, you've done so well. It's like, you're better than that. Yeah, that was cool. So that's actually quite, because I never even thought about Bebop and Rocksteady, and that probably just shows you how bad that is. I never even twigged to them. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about those guys.
It never seemed like the most intelligent, but I think, I'm arguing your case again. Was it not in the last Ronin? Was it not Bebop and Rocksteady who actually killed the other turtles?
Aye.
Because they actually live up to how they look. I mean, they look terrifying.
Yeah.
Aye.
And in that comic, they actually backed it up.
They
were. They were really something in that one.
Yeah, they looked like
I'm going to go back and read it again.
Nice.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, that was the thing. Like they looked like brick shit houses. Well, essentially, like, and they could like take you out. Would you say, like, when you were talking about the reboot, Mark? Would you say that it was more like a Batman rogues gallery than just like Minions when it came to, like, Mumm-Ra and the way they'd adapted the newer ones?
It was kind of more like what's the best analogy? Battlestar Galactica. The society, the Thundercat society, gets brought to its knees, and it's actually one of their own that does it. There's a betrayal. So there's a guy, I think it's Grun. I might be remembering that wrong, but he's like Lionel's dad's like best pal, and he goes out and he sends them out to find all this ancient technology. Yeah. And obviously he's going to just use that technology to take power for himself. And in one night, like, Thundercat society falls, and then the survivors go on the run. And it's like these villains, these actual competent villains. I mean, I don't think, I might be wrong, but like Mumm-Ra's this just thing in the background. The real story is like the Thundercats, like this ragtag bunch just trying to survive while they're hunted down by the ones that like. Well, I can't recommend this series enough. It's fantastic, and it didn't get a chance.
Yeah, I'll need to check it out. Definitely, if there's a way I can find it. Right, so we'll go for the again, like, to sum up your arguments in a couple of sentences. So, but Kev, what would you say would be your points for like abilities for Shredder?
Just his mastery of ninjutsu. Basically, he is like the top master. There's nobody really better on a 1-on-1 scale. He's took out everybody 1-on-1. It takes at least 3 people to try and take him out. So just by that alone, he's a formidable enemy.
Right, Mark, your couple of sentences to justify abilities.
I would totally agree that the Shredder is a formidable villain to anything human.
Here it comes, kids. Here comes like the reeling him in, straight to go for the knockout punch.
But he is nothing against an ancient evil being who can summon things to assist him in any manner he chooses. He can levitate, he has energy manipulation, scrying, he can teleport himself and others, he can move objects through sheer will, he can create force fields, he's a necromancer, he can animate lifeless objects, he can transmogrify, and he can astral project. He's also technically immortal. Right? If he's ever defeated or technically killed, he just goes back to his sarcophagus. Mumm-Ra cannot be destroyed, and as he has stated in the series, wherever evil exists, Mumm-Ra lives. And that's pretty fucking villainous.
I've got to say, Kev.
I think I've been Nick Cage. I was Nick Caged.
You've been Nick Caged. You have definitely been Nick Caged. Like, this is the point where the Nick Cage picture will come up. Sorry, man, that was resounding. Mark, coming out. Like, he didn't come out swinging.
Thank you.
Mark did not come out swinging. He brought the bazooka.
Yep.
We Buffy season 2'd you. That was then. This is now. Kaboom. He blew you to smithereens, man. Like that last bit. Wow. That was fighting talk, man. Well done. Well done, man.
Thank you, gents. Thank you.
What? And it brings it to one each, and everybody knows that I love when we get to a deadlock. When everybody loves that I like to get to a deadlock. Sometimes it's a cop out to make sure we just get to the last round because I think it's one of the trickiest ones to argue. What?
To be fair, we've never actually had one where it's like, right, I'll give it to that just so that we can get to the other round. It's actually always been 1-1.
It has always been a 1-1. What some people may disagree with it, but based on the judgment calls and the arguments, that's what
seriously, actually, I think your categories, your criteria are matched perfectly with the subject matters that you're choosing. They're really well balanced. So, man, kudos to you for how you're picking these. Seriously.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. I appreciate the constructive feedback. It's always good. Because I know there'll be some fans that are like, what? How did you rule with that one? Like, for example, when it was the Merman Barnacle Boy, they're like, how could you even give them 1 point? I'm like, the argument presented itself. Whether I agreed with it personally is not the point. It's how they present the arguments and how well they do it that judges my decision. Well, I've
done well with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy.
You really did. You did, my friend. Well, it was like there was some cracking points in there. For anybody that's not watched that episode, go back and check it out.
Pardon the pun, sir. Pardon the pun. Some cracking.
Yes.
Don't even realise you're doing it. Comedy genius.
It's what we do. It's what we do in this show. So we jump into the final rounds, where one of the ones that's been a very tricky one for most of our guests, and it's been universal significance. What would happen if you took this specific hero or villain out of their respective world or their universe? How would it affect that universe as a whole? For example, if we took Superman out of DC, what would happen to not only the Justice League, but the superhero genre? That's the kind of things that I want you to think about. Like, if you took that person out, would it be a better place without them or a worse place without them? If so, why? And how would you argue it? So we jump back to Mark for his first round. How do you think Thundercats would be if Mumm-Ra was removed from the equation?
The universe couldn't exist. Literally in canon, but the fact that if good exists, evil has to exist as well. So if evil doesn't exist, good can't exist. Therefore, nothing. Universal destruction.
But what about obviously there is still evil that exists. Like, he does have his rogues gallery, like his minions. And as you stated,
yeah, but that's the thing though. Like, you cannot take Mumm-Ra out. He is the physical embodiment of evil. So if evil goes, Mumm-Ra goes, and good can't exist without evil.
But as you've stated, like, you know, in the reboot in particular, there was other characters that were fleshed out, be a bit more menacing, and that was why when I'd asked, do you think it was kind of like a rogues gallery, where it kind of, you know, there was the Joker, and then they've got the other ones.
I know, but the point to that is that Mumm-Ra was still there. he was a manipulative figure in the background. So while he wasn't a conscious being at that point, he was still there, and the sort of manipulating force behind everything is like the corruption.
So you're saying that like that he basically pulled the strings for all of them, and just like moved them around like, well, you know, like the pieces on a chessboard.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like another equivalent that would actually explain it much better.
No, you're explaining it well, my friend. Like, I'm just obviously clarifying for the sakes of the arguments. Like, so if you took Mumm-Ra out, you don't think that those people, or those like other villains would become villains as a result?
No, because there's not that. We all have this potential to be either good or evil, or somewhere in between. And if there isn't that influence, I think we're probably getting into sort of nature or nurture type thing. But if there's nothing there that's actually guiding you or pushing you in that certain direction, and in the Thundercats universe, that's what I'm arguing for, not actual real life. So I'm not saying that there's some sort of guiding force pushing us one way or another. I don't want to get into that. Yeah. But within Thundercats, I would argue that he's necessary evil. I think is probably because I'm not going to repeat myself, but like, nothing can exist without him actually being there. He must be there for things to exist.
Very good argument, my friend. Right, Kev, we've kind of touched on it as well. Like we have Shredder, but we still got ones like Bebop and Rocksteady. We still got Krang. How do you think do you think that he has the same kind of impact as a Mumm-Ra? Like if you took him out the equation, like there wouldn't be other forces kind of pushing them towards the Turtles?
Probably not. If you take Shredder away, you don't have the Turtles though, because it's his company that he was running that was making this ooze that mutated the Turtles. So without him and his company, there's no Turtles. There's no Bebop and Rocksteady. There's no need for any of it. And then we just get Krang. And
just to clarify, it was Krang, not Kerrang. We're not going down My Chemical Romance here.
Would you like to listen to the new Metallica album?
Imagine Krang singing Enter Sandman.
Oh, do you want to imagine or do you want to hear it?
I want to hear it. Of course I want to hear it.
Say your prayers, little one. Don't forget, my son, to include everyone, Shredder. I'll set you in, warm within, keep you free from sin, till the Shredder he comes.
Oh my God, that was absolutely amazing.
I don't think that one exists. So that might be a first.
That's one that you've got to do. That will be your viral video, my friend. You've got to get that going. Oh man, that's fantastic. Oh man, what was the
sad but true, Shredder?
What was the name of the big thing that stored him? You know, essentially his body.
Oh, at one point I did know what that thing was called, but
yeah, I cannot remember for the life of me.
I'm not googling it.
He just looked like somebody that came out. Like, you ever seen Dodgeball?
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen with the first outfits that they come out in with the competition because it gets mixed up?
The S&M stuff.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. It just looked like that was.
It's those straps.
Yeah, the wee kind of red speedaway things. I'm like
the spikes on them.
Yeah, it was just so weird, man. It was something not right about that. Definitely.
Somebody was obviously watching Demolition fighting and the rest of it like that. You know what? We need that, except more colourful. There we go.
We will be the longest reigning tag team in WWF history.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Imagine that though. Like, I could imagine like Krang just being like Paul Heyman.
Oh, what? My name is Krang.
Like you could just imagine Krang like coming out in that suit with Brock Lesnar.
He would be inside Brock Lesnar.
This is taking a turn.
Dun, 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 dun. He comes out and Paul Heyman's just in his stomach.
He just kind of going, Brock Lesnar.
He takes off the belt and Heyman's face is there.
Oh my God, like the tribal chief is going to come and kill me.
Tribal chief, you stand no chance against the combined might of Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar.
Where did Krang come from, actually, Kev? Like, was he created from the ooze, or is he like essentially a space fish?
He's an alien.
Yeah.
Aye.
For somebody who's never watched the Turtles, I'm doing all right with this fucking knowledge.
It was that way. Like, I always knew about Krang, but I never knew here I'm saying Krang now.
Stop saying Krang.
It's like, well, it's gonna happen. I can envision this. What we find out that the leader of the guy who owns Kerrang is actually Krang. But it's not like any of the not like all the guys that have owned it in the past. It's just been Krang all along.
But with the strings.
Yes, definitely. That's why it went more emo. It was all down to him.
Aye. His big fella lost the championship and he just got right sad about it.
Aye. I was like the big fella just went, right, I'm going solo, and he created Scuzz. So that's an interesting point. Like, so he's came from outer space. Well, so he's never had any interactions with the Shredder. So if the Shredder's not there, the Turtles aren't there. Krang just comes down to Earth and basically just takes over the place.
Pretty much, aye.
Because who have they actually got? I mean, they've got would Casey Jones? Would Casey Jones have even been came into prominence if it wasn't for the inspiration of the Turtles?
Probably not, because they were vigilantes and he decided, I can do that. I've got a hockey stick, I've got a mask, I can beat people up. What more do I need?
Sounds about right in that type of way. We've been talking about the Turtles universe, and we've not yet touched on the Bay, the Michael Bay, who tried to destroy all of our childhoods.
Bayhem,
definitely. If that's not patented, it should be. But what did you guys make of that? It was like the first one. What they tried doing their own thing. Fans didn't like it, and they were like, "Okay, no, this, and this would need to change." They make those changes. And then but it still bombed. Do you think that was just down to the fact that it was just because it was Michael Bay at that point? Because I genuinely thought the changes were okay. They weren't great, but they were better than what came before, say for the lift scene. The lift scene was just fantastic.
Well, I don't know how much I can comment here because I've not seen them. So,
what about you, Kevin? You seen it?
I didn't like them. I didn't like
how they went with Shredder in particular.
I don't know if the nostalgia had worn off, and it's like I'm too old now. But I went back. I watched the old films, and the nostalgia's still there for them. Yeah. I watched the old cartoons. I watched some of the other cartoons. The 2007 film. I watched that, and it's like, nostalgia's still there for all of that. Rayman's just like, nah, no doing it.
Well, here's one. Doing it for me. Batman v the Ninja Turtles. Have you seen that yet?
I've seen that.
Now, I think that's surprisingly brilliant.
Aye.
Well,
it's really underrated as well.
And the two that they actually had, Ra's al Ghul in the Shredder, those matched up perfectly as villains to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could see them getting drunk at a villains bar and just being like, I fucking hate Batman. I fucking hate the Turtles. Did we just become best friends? Yes.
Let's just kill them.
See, I've not seen them, but I thought maybe like a better match up for somebody like Shredder would maybe be somebody like Lady Shiva or like a Richard Dragon type character, like a ninja versus ninja. Well, for just kind of teaming up. But then again, I say Ra's al Ghul's.
Like I say, the way that they played it was very impressive. I had to say, it was one of those ones that. It's something that you picture like in a fever dream. Like, say if you've got like the flu or something, like a really bad flu, and you're having those crazy mental dreams you get when you're loaded with the flu, and you think it's the best idea in the world. And then you kind of come down from your fever, and you're like, wait, that's actually pish. This is like somebody came up with in their fever dream, went, I'll write it down and see what happens. And it turned out to be fucking fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. It was something no one would have expected to work, and it did. And at the same time, if you took Shredder out of that one and say that movie, do you think like that Ra's al Ghul could have still been able to pull off the plan? Take it out somehow, if the Turtles somehow were able to come into it without Shredder being around, do you think that that would have been able to pull it off? Do you think? I'm going down a rabbit hole here, guys, as you can tell.
I don't really know. I think at the end of the day, Shredder was the brains behind the whole thing. But he used Raish to sort of get his minions to do his bidding. But look, this is to help you.
Yeah.
This would just help me helping you more.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been trying to kill Batman for how long? Now I can help you. And without that, I don't think it would have done as much.
Very true.
Right. So that's just made me think a wee offshoot for you then, Andrew. I don't know where you might be interested or not, but I'm thinking like, because while you guys were talking, I was thinking, like, the Turtles actually really are a good fit for the Batman universe.
Yeah, they really are.
Have you thought about maybe looking at what other characters could cross over that haven't been done yet? Like, some characters, I know like, you've had like Batman, Judge Dredd crossovers or that kind of thing, but maybe try and think of some more. Don't know if that'd be a nice wee offshoot for your Super Ginge thing.
Could be. We're always looking at ideas that there's potential. I mean, in the last one that we filmed, we were talking about how there was a Superman v Terminator, a graphic novel that had kicked about, which was really good. So that could be something that we look into for future development.
Nice one. I've also had another one last sort of bonus clash here.
Here we go.
Who had the better tune? The original Thundercats 1980s theme tune or TURTLE Power?
Oh.
And I know the Turtles cartoon had a really good theme tune as well. But,
yeah, but I did have a really good one. Well, it was actually done by Chuck Lorre, who does Big Bang Theory.
Ah, right.
Aye.
There you go.
I'd have to say personally, the Thundercats theme was so much better.
The Thundercats theme has more punch for listening to it, and you're like, well, hey, but Turtles has got the replayability factor. And it's like, I can remember being at my gran and papa's and they had like a wee video VHS recorded of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episodes and the Thundercats episodes, and I would always have the Turtles ones on because I would always love to hear that song. You had to be in the right mood to hear the Thundercats because you knew that song was setting you up for that world.
Well, that's what I was going to say next. Does listening to the Turtles theme give you that wee tingle up the back of your neck when you hear that? Well, however it goes, I don't know. But when you hear that Thundercats theme and you hear that, and then that fucking red on the guitar, and then it goes.
It could just happen to me just hearing you do that.
You're like, shit, man. You're like, fucking hell. Sounds like some Steve Vai would come up with it. It's just.
It was proper like the kind of 80s. What you could tell there was 80s metal influences in there.
Oh, aye.
And it was really powerful. But I think it depended on the markets. I would have said that Turtles at that time was more for kind of younger kids.
They changed the name because Ninja was like, we can't have Ninja because it seems too evil, so they changed it to Hero. It's like,
was that not only for the UK market though?
It was only here in Europe. Anywhere else was Ninja.
Yeah, but they did change it. Whereas, like I think Thundercats was for the kind of older ones of the kids market. Let's say, like from like say 8 to 12, 8 to 13, that kind of market. Whereas Turtles was more for the smaller route, like where you're just coming out of your like kind of 4 or 5 year old and going from there up to say about 8, 9, 10. Because it had the kind of cheesy one-liners as well, obviously from the Turtles and and April O'Neil as well. Well, here's another one for you, right? If we were talking about songs, let's talk about characters. Who would you rather fuck, Tigress or April O'Neil?
Tigress.
Are we talking about Chitara though? Because it's Tigress, not from Kung Fu Panda.
Hey, I wouldn't mind about Kung Fu Panda. He needs love too. I mean, he's voiced by Jack Black. Can you not love him?
Well, I would say, like, if we're talking...
What?
I apologise, but it's Chitara, definitely Chitara, especially in the reboot version because she's stunning. Looking, that is some cartoon character.
Yeah, Chitara, definitely. I was just making sure it wasn't just me that needed therapy.
No, I think we've established that we
all need a significant amount of therapy to survive this. But yeah, I would definitely. I mean, April O'Neil had that kind of look that you could maybe get your wife to dress up as. And she would maybe go with it. But I think for the Chitara one, it would take a bit more convincing because it was like all encompassing. It was like one of the ones you'd have to make sure that every single detail was covered with that. Otherwise, like the fantasy was just gone. Right. So we'll go back to doing our couple of sentences to sum up why we think what our point would win on the universal significance. And Mark, as you started off the round, we will go to you. Why do you think that Mumm-Ra has the superior universal significance?
Well, as I may have previously stated, I think that Mumm-Ra has the ultimate universal significance because without him, there is no universe itself. Because he represents evil, and without evil, there can be no good. There must be balance. Without balance, there is nothing.
Balance in the Force, my friend. Balance in the Force. Well,
don't you fucking Star Wars quote at me.
Seriously. You know a Star Wars? You don't like Star Wars?
I'm one of these boys.
In fairness, so man, I like both. You can I
know you can, but like I've never been a Star Wars fan. I just don't like it. I just don't get it. I don't get why it's so popular, and
I'm a Trekkie as well, but more so for how I grew up. But I do understand. But I do like Star Wars as well, so I can't. Like you can't.
Yeah, nothing against anybody who likes Star Wars.
Yep.
Have at it. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Anyway. I like them both as well. It's just that with Star Wars, there's been more misses than it has with hits, and with Star Trek, there's been more hits than there has been misses.
Star Trek's catching up with the misses.
Yeah,
it's getting there now.
Well, I mean, in fairness, I mean, the second that it got to, I mean, Deep Space Nine was basically, it was Faulty Towers in space.
Choose your words carefully.
Well, for the first few seasons, it was Faulty Towers in space. Well, you were basically in a floating space hotel. Well, and then eventually they decided to actually get a ship to go places, and I was like, well, hey. And then they had the war, and I was like, I've never been so excited about war in my entire life. Well, the war really made that. It was so good. What? But they did serialized episodes and running story arcs before it became a thing, like for Netflix and stuff.
Yeah,
they did. So it's got a lot more love over time. Voyager, so much backstage political infighting and politics. It takes the shine off how good the later seasons became. But the whole things where like everybody hated Jerry Ryan and there was all this kind of backlash over her because
was it not mainly oh god, what's her face? Was it Janeway?
Kate Mulgrew.
Kate Mulgrew. Was it not mainly Kate Mulgrew who didn't like her because she was like, oh, don't see the need for bringing this character in?
Yeah, that was.
What's the need for bringing that character in?
There wasn't need because Jennifer Lyon, who played Kess, had checked out. She was, well.
And the idea
words they couldn't say in the documentary about it, but yeah. And they brought Jerry Ryan in, and they just thought, oh, she's just Barbie in space. But Jerry Ryan, she wasn't. She more than proved her worth. Brilliant actress, brought a lot of depth. Yeah, brought a lot of depth and humanity. There's a reason why her character is one that has been picked up for these later ones to try and help bring it forward. Like when I watched the first series of Picard, I haven't seen the second one yet, but when I watched the first series, I was more excited about seeing Jerry Ryan's one because her acting was so strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Enterprise, the theme song killed it.
It's been a long road. Yeah, I watched that for Scott Bakula.
Oh yeah,
fuck yes, my boy, Quantum Leap.
Yep, everybody watched it for Bakula, the back. But it does have
Bakula.
It does have hidden gems, such as Through a Mirror Darkly.
Oh, what an episode!
fact, it was written by fans as well.
Aye.
It was written by fans. They ditched the fucking theme tune and came up with a badass one. I wanted to see a whole series dedicated to that. Dedicated
Empress
to
Hoshi.
yeah. Yep. You're speaking with Empress Sato. Prepare to receive instructions. Well,
Oh,
I would have
they
just
put-
loved to have seen that, like just a series of that. It was fantastic. And then they shat the bed with the finale.
That was where I was going. Like if they ever did anything, like just make one more episode and make that not the episode. Like folk didn't want to see a fucking holodeck episode of the Next Generation. They wanted to see that done justice.
No, when they did the documentary about it, what they were trying to do it like, you know, essentially like bring it full circle. We're talking about like kind of Red Dwarf beforehand, like before we came on. It was like the Ouroboros, you know, sneaking his own tail essentially. They tried to do it with that and tie it in with a collective, but everybody, cast and fans, all thought they get shot on. They got shot on. Scott Bakula was like off his tits, and rightly so. He was so upset.
You feel bad for Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis coming into that as well. They're like, we're just here to do a job. Like, sorry, we don't think this is a good idea either.
They were just like, look, we're getting paid. We're getting a gig. Well, that's all we're here for. Well, again, let's say with Voyager as well, like Jerry Ryan was there to do a gig. She was there for a job. Well, she did the job. Well, and it's so shitty that they all had to basically, you know, choose sides. And what it was when she talked about how it was such a lonely time for her. I mean, because she was just thought she'd separated from her husband, and then she started banging Brannon Braga. Yeah, which he punched well above, man. He punched well above that weight. Well, definitely. Well, but yeah, well, it just wasn't a nice experience for her. So I just felt really, really bad for the actress.
It was a shame.
But again, there's a reason why she's getting the work and the others aren't.
Yep.
Well, we just got to see with that one.
Because also, unlike Kate Mulgrew, she doesn't sound like the demon for the end of Army of Darkness.
Who the hell are you?
Touche,
I'll swallow your soul, Chakotay.
That was one thing that I thought was a really odd one to do. That it was 7 and 9 and Chakotay getting together at the end. I was like, no, just no. No, shouldn't have.
She didn't need to be paired off with anybody. That kind of really demeaned that character.
Definitely. Like they'd done so much work building her up, and then it did that kind of throw in, and it was just.
I suppose they had to do something to keep Bobby Beltran interested.
He had checked out. Like he openly admitted, he hated the finale. He absolutely hated it. And I mean, fair dues to him. Because we all were like, really.
By the end of Voyager, I was like,
I know it was like the fact that they openly admitted saying that the Borg were basically going to be their version of the Klingons for Voyager, and I'm like, nobody gives a shit. You made the Borg look feeble.
Aye.
Like over the course of it, like I mean, having them introduced the way they introduced them in the end of Series 3, start Series 4. Was fantastic.
Oh, it was a Scorpion, was it?
Scorpion,
yeah.
Scorpion Part 1 and 2, absolutely brilliant. Like the introduction of Species 8472.
Yeah, there's a fucking nosedive of a species like villains. Oh, like these guys, even the Borg can't beat them. 4 episodes later, they're like disguised as humans in a fucking recreation of Starfleet Academy. You're like, oh, well,
and that was the following season. That was the following season.
Rubbish.
Yep.
Voyager had a real villain problem. They had a real sort of situational problem. They couldn't. They had this great concept for a series. It should have been Battlestar Galactica. Struggling. It should Year of Hell should have been Seasons of Hell. That's how it should have been.
Yeah. Or Equinox.
Yeah, Equinox. Exactly. Yeah. They couldn't. It's like they couldn't bring themselves to go down that road, and it ended up just being an inferior version of Next Generation.
Definitely,
like a farce inferior. And they didn't even do the introducing the Maquis and having that character clash, and then they took that nowhere. And you're like, fucking hell, just a wasted opportunity.
It was all like writers fighting with writers and directors fighting with writers and producers going, no, I want that, I want more of this. Bands like that, and the bands are like, what are you talking about? We don't like any of this.
Yeah, and then it was the cast, then it was the crew as well, and all that. gumph that was going on at the same time, but as we previously discussed, and I felt bad for them in the end because, like, see, when they were filming their final scenes, like a Voyager, they were taking down the set as they were filming them, because Enterprise had already been commissioned, and they were like, right, we need to start taking this down and get everything ready for Enterprise. So they were filming, like, you know, the set of course for home, those final scenes, and the entire, like, bridge has been taken down around them.
That's disgraceful.
They didn't even get like a, you know, like a wee kind of levers, kind of like a well done. Well, it's been 7 years.
You normally get the crew standing around.
Aye,
oh, this is
like
the final scene. Well done.
Like they had with Next Generation DS9. It was basically Robert Picardo said it was like they said, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
It was like, cut, right, let's go. See you later on my way home.
Yep, it was just, right, you're done. Okay.
Shite.
Yeah. So
I'm guessing that documentary is really good then.
Yeah, definitely a center seat or a center seat. It's on like your free view on Amazon. It's 11 parts. It covers a lot of the original series and the cartoon, in the movies. To start with, and then it feels like they've kind of got to play catch up with the rest, but it's still really good. So 11-part series. It celebrated the 55 years. It's narrated by Gates McFadden, Dr. Crusher herself. So it's really good. So I would highly recommend it for anybody that is a fan of the Star Trek universe.
Gates McFadden, another top tier ginger.
Oh yeah, she was in my list for a long time.
Oh, sorry, we keep fucking travelling down this mangent. It's not even a tangent anymore. It's a tangent. But the Scottish episode of Next Generation, how fucking dreadful is that?
Oh my god!
It's got to be one of the worst episodes of anything I've ever watched, especially when that guy with the tash runs in with this mangled accent.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing.
Dr. Crusher bangs a ghost. There you go. Yep. Next Generation.
Basically.
Quality stuff.
You're not Nana. Nana's dead.
Tell me, number one, have you seen Dr. Crusher banging a ghost recently?
I know that's the thing, when you look back at Next Gen, a lot of it was shit. There was like the first 3 series, they couldn't find their way.
No.
They really struggled to find their way. And then they had a stride from 4 right to the end. They just seemed to hit a vein of form, and it was like everybody just went, okay, don't bother about that. But there were so many mishits in between those as well. You were like, dude.
But when you hit as many high points as that series did, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of those low points matter. You
know where I think they actually benefited, and this is going to be this is horrible to say, they benefited from Gene Roddenberry passing away.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because there was too much of the interference from him and all that kind of backstage stuff. So when he finally went, it was like, okay.
Yeah, he wanted no interpersonal conflict. You're like, that's drama.
Yeah.
Jesus, come on.
Well, and it was just like, okay, right, he's gone. Let's do this our way. And boy,
let's have them fucking smashing up the bridge, rolling at each other.
Yep. Absolutely brilliant.
Shut it, Wolf, you stupid prick.
Get a sense of humour, Rocky Dennis.
Got a sense of humour, Rocky Dennis.
Yep. Star Trek.
Yes.
Since we're still on the tangent, we'll do our final wrap up of this tangent. What would you say was your favourite Star Trek film of the Prime timeline? We're not going to Kelvin.
I don't even acknowledge that there's anything other than the timeline. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed JJ Star Trek.
So did I.
And I also really liked Star Trek Beyond. I thought that was a great film.
I really liked Star Trek Into Darkness, and in particular liked Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Khan. Everybody thinks that's sacrilege, but that's not taken away from Ricardo Montalban and how amazing he was. But different times, different era, different style.
He played it good for that type of film. He played it.
For me, it felt like
J.J. Abrams.
It felt like the Kelvin timeline was starting to go down the Terran Empire route, where it was seeming like the Federation are actually dicks. And I was like, oh, I could get on board with this because I love the mirror universe.
I can't get on board with that at all. That's the main reason why I absolutely detest Picard, Discovery, all this new stuff, because there's nothing. Right, I'm going to get into I've toyed with the idea of doing like your sort of video essay type thing on this subject, and I'll touch on where I'm coming from with that. The reason why I don't like this stuff. When I was growing up, I grew up without a dad. And I wasn't short of male positive influences. I had plenty of guys to look up to, but the one guy who I really looked up to was Jean-Luc Picard. I liked old Star Trek. I liked the kind of gung-ho Captain Kirk style. But here was this guy. He was bald as well. Like all the men in my family were bald. So like now I realise like maybe that was something going on. But like here was this guy who wasn't always quick. He wasn't quick to anger. He was intelligent. He dealt with situations in a methodical, mature way. And if he made a mistake, he acknowledged that mistake and moved on professionally. Now he's this frail old guy who is fighting for modern politics. This current thing, like, oh, we must. Because he's an old white guy, he's automatically the villain. Like he's wandering around the galaxy apologising for something that wasn't even his fault. Everybody blames him. Everybody gives him shit for stuff that he didn't do.
Yep.
Tried to help. And it's like, what? It's like Marlon Brando's like, look how they murdered my boy.
That's good, my boy.
I thought, what is happening here? And season 2 is just this constant need to be grim, to be dark. Gritty. There's a time and a place, gritty. There's a time and a place for it, and that time and place is not Star Trek. We need something to aspire to. We need something to look up to. Yeah, a solid chunk of humanity right now is pretty shitty. I'd quite like to believe we could be better.
Yeah.
That's what Star Trek is.
Definitely.
This new stuff is not Star Trek. It's wearing Star Trek skin, and it looks really nice, but it's not Star Trek.
Yeah.
If you're saying, like, you're watching Star Trek, you need to believe that we can do better than this, and that just thinks we're going to be shitter than ever, but we're going to stab you in the back with a smile on our face. And that's not it for me.
I think the way to sum it up is the Orville is more Star Trek than Star Trek.
Yes, it is.
Aye.
I love the Orville. Love it.
Yeah, me too.
And that was the thing. It started off shaky, the first couple of episodes, because it was too heavy on the Seth MacFarlane humour. And I was like, this is going to be A Million Ways to Die in the West or Ted 2. But they quickly realised they had a good series in their hands. They could sprinkle little bits of humour in there. But play with what they've got, play in the sandbox they've created, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah, absolutely is.
It's absolutely fantastic.
The
Roll on the third series.
The reason all that Seth MacFarlane comedy stuff was in was because of the other producers.
Yeah,
and
Fox.
And they're like, we need new humour. He's like, right. So he done it for the first couple of episodes, and then they're like, right, that's great. And then they let him go. They're like, right. So he's like, right, I can do what I want today now.
Yeah.
But did you notice that there was a certain contingent in the media who just did not want that series to succeed? And that was the ammunition they used.
Yep.
It's like, oh, dick and fart jokes, so typical Seth MacFarlane Family Guy humour. It's like, if you watch it, it's doing really good sci-fi, it's doing really good character episodes, and it's quite funny. And it's not all toilet humour. There's really good character-based humour. I mean, like all the stuff with Bortus.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
I liked how it was the whole, how the thing that he's made was a throwaway line in the pilot episode of
Piss once a year.
Urinating once a year. And they made that into an episode.
And a good episode.
And it was a really good one. And it's like the whole kind of thing. It's like, yeah, we have an issue to address. Kelly, you do it. It's like, we're all being invited to watch Bortus P. That's something that should just be like toilet humor. But the way it's presented and how they do it, I was like, wow, they really made me care about a piss joke.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then on the flip side of that, the whole situation with their child.
That was
having
fantastic.
a daughter, and they handled that so fucking well.
Oh, it was beautiful, beautifully done.
But like modern Star Trek should be doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Instead, the cast, like the crew of all the ships in the Federation now, can't go 5 minutes without bursting into tears.
Yeah.
They're like, this is supposed to be a military organisation with strict guidelines about how to handle themselves, and they're trained for situations. And then you get Michael in Space Jesus Burnham going, I love you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Calm down.
Yeah. Well, and you know it's bad when when the best admirals in sci-fi of that world is Ted Danson.
Oh yes.
He's one of the best admirals that I've seen. What and had the guy who also from Legends of Tomorrow as well. He's a brilliant
Victor Garber. Right?
He's a
superb actor.
Superb actor, fantastic, brilliant in that show. What and I can never
Ron
remember
Canada as well.
Mm-hmm. There we go. That was the name I couldn't remember there. Like just some great casting choices. And I love the Kalons. I love those. That's basically their Borg.
Yeah, and what a way to like set out your stall as far as like, we're not toilet humor. This is real sci-fi, and look at what we can do.
Yeah, and I love.
So I was like,
see the way they've done the time travel one as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's been so well done, much better than like a lot of the timeline stuff that we've seen in Star Trek. There's a lot of timeline stuff.
Yeah, which makes kind of sense because Brandon Braga is an exec producer on the Orville, and he loves his fucking time travel stories.
He really does. But I think I'm quite glad that Seth MacFarlane's got that to kind of lean into, but at the same time,
he's that Star Trek fan. He knows what pedigree to get.
Mm-hmm.
Like bringing in guys like Jonathan Frakes to direct episodes. I mean, I know he's directed episodes of New Trek as well, but like, these guys know what they're doing.
Definitely.
And he's such a fan that he knows exactly who to go to.
Yeah, and you've had cast members like, Robert Picardo, Mina Sirtis, being guest stars, as well as relying on like the little cameos of Liam Neeson and Charlize Theron, at the start to kind of give it that kick-off as well.
Sorry to interrupt you, man, but like talking of guest stars, one that really stood out to me was John Billingsley.
Definitely
playing it was like the equivalent of the guy who wrote the paper that said vaccines cause autism.
Yeah,
and he was his dad, and he showed up at oh my god, name escapes me, but it was Robert Picardo, and he was like, put your hand on the board. The way he turned from being this jovial Dr. Phlox type to being this fucking lunatic who was going to boil his hand.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
It's amazing.
And it's wee moments like that make the Orville really stand out for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Just quality.
Definitely. I cannot wait for it to start back. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's my birthday present. It starts on the 2nd of June. So that's right. I'm sitting watching that. That's me.
Definitely, my friend.
Walked away watching it.
Good on you. Well, we have taken like the massive tangent, but I think it was justified. We're all We're all Trekkies. We do it. Well, and in fairness, the only reason I allowed it is because with the arguments beforehand and the round off, I have my winner. But I'm sorry, Kev, but Mark's got it.
Yeah.
Yes, man. Sorry, Kevin. That was.
Don't get me wrong. I think it wasn't the points that you've raised before. We've had in other arguments and we've been able to kind of counter with it, but the way you said it and how you argued it made it harder to beat.
Oh, thank you, man.
Well, you were very good with how you constructed the arguments. It was clear that you warmed up as you went on. Got into the style. You're like, okay, right, gloves are off. Here we go. And that was that. So, Mark, I have to say, you done yourself justice, my friend.
To be fair, I really appreciate that. That feedback as well. I mean, that's nice to hear. But I think if you've got Mumm-Ra in the Wu-Tang Clan in your back pocket, then
that was one of your Nick Cage moments.
So I get 2 Nick Cage moments in this one.
I know that's a first as well. We've not had a double Nick Cage.
Nope.
Nice.
Well, that's certainly one to go into the history books of Super Ginge, a double Nick Cage. I want to make it my mission that hopefully one day I'll be able to get Nick Cage on here and we can Nick Cage.
Oh, I don't know, man. His debt's cleared. He's probably not going to be agreeable to such things anymore.
Nah,
You're
nah,
not going to
but-
get another Wally's Wonderland or
Nah,
Willy's
it's-
Wonderland, whatever the fuck
yeah.
that was.
It's not going to happen. He'll just what would hear me just go, give me $20,000. I'll be like, and give you 20,000 pence.
It's like, I'm sorry, Andrew. I'd really love to do it, but I'm doing another movie about not being able to talk and fighting giant stuffed toys.
In
Yeah.
fairness, I'd be okay with that. But anything that gets Nick Cage paid work, we're more than happy to support Nick Cage.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
As long as he puts out stuff like Mandy and Pig, then carry on, Nick. You do you.
Yep. And the unbearable weight of massive talent.
I have not seen that yet.
I've not seen it either.
Well,
Looks amazing though.
it does look really good. Like, I've not seen it either, but it's one of those ones that I'm like, only Nick Cage could do.
Oh
that
yeah, and
as well.
also sorry, the Colour Out of Space H.P.
Mm.
Lovecraft adaptation,
Mm.
fucking amazing. You're getting Wild Cage and Oscar-winning actor Cage in the same film.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
But such a brilliant. And watching the Netflix documentary, The History of Swearing, Nick Cage makes it. Totally makes
I've
it.
not seen that one.
What
good.
highly recommend. Like, just because he walks out, full suit, nice, pristinely done, and he just walks out and just screams, "Fuck!" Like, for a good 1 minute long F word.
Nice.
Well, and it just sets the tone for everything going forward. And I'm like, it's brilliant. And one of the ones it's about, the word dick. Well, and he's talking, it's like he's talking to his penis. And he's saying, yeah, we've had some ups, some downs, some hard times, but we've came together in the end. Wait, no, I'm talking to my accountant. Well, it's just fantastic. For something to just turn off your brain and just enjoy something. With Nick Cage in it, it's good. It's just fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll need to try that.
Yeah. Now, Kev, again, a very worthy opponent. You've had now at the time of this recording, you've had 4 under your belt.
Yep.
It's been 2 and 2, but you're always good for someone that if they're nervous coming into it, that you essentially show them the ropes without realizing you're showing them the ropes.
I suppose. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Oh no, I appreciated that, man. I felt I was eased into it tonight. I think you could have been much harsher on me at the beginning, but no, I appreciated the.
Yeah,
I could have been, but yeah. It's
But
not the
yeah,
type of stuff.
you still won the argument though, but you were just very
You
nice
did.
about it.
He did like Kev does have his own style. He does have a very unique style of winning an argument. He lulls you in, and then all of a sudden it's just like bam, got you, or bam, Nick Cage moment. But it just couldn't beat the double Nick Cage. The double Nick Cage happened, my friend.
You can't beat a double Nick Cage.
No, you definitely can't. That should be the title of his next film, The Double Nick Cage.
Twin Cages.
Oh, there we go. That's us. What you got to get the script wrote and pitch it, my friend.
I think that film needs to be just more of a sort of vibe. I don't think you can script that. Just turn
No.
up and shoot it.
No, you just turn up and just follow Nick Cage around for a while.
Mhm.
That's you. You've got
And
it.
just CGI in some other sort of Nick Cage.
Yeah.
But just stick him in a studio and let him riff, and then
Mhm.
somehow integrate it to what you've already shot.
Well, I think what we should do is we should have Nick Cage and then as someone that just turns up and it's Willem Dafoe. Well, I think they would be fire together. Not even just you just get them down to sit and have a coffee, and all of a sudden everything will just go nuts. And you just have a cameo from Christopher Walken.
I was gonna say walking.
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird. Hey guys, run this one past me. Do you think my walking is good?
I've got to say yes, definitely.
It's fucking unbelievable. You know, catch me.
Oh man.
I'm a
If-
super ginger.
If we're good doing this, then we need to have Gary Busey coming in at some point.
Oh no, I wouldn't even
Well,
risk a boozy.
yeah.
Oh, Gary. Oh, but
Oh man, that's like throwing in James Brooks. What? Just like, oh, okay. I have James Woods. Throw James Woods in there as well. That would just be a massive cluster F.
Rip Tom, get Rip Tom in there as well.
may he rest in peace.
I got a gun. I'm gonna rob this place. If I can dodge my house, I can dodge this bank.
Necessary? You're necessary for me to drink my own.
Drink my own
urine?
piss. No,
Oh.
but it's sterile, and I like the taste.
Oh, guys, we have to call. Ironically, we're calling time when we're talking about piss joke.
Yay!
Mark, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me, man. It was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely
That was
brilliant. Kev,
Like that.
as usual, it's a pleasure sharing the screen with you. Mark,
Yep.
as always, great to work with. Such a welcome back anytime for more Super Ginge fights.
Thank you, man. I'd love to come back. I've had a great time. Thank you.
Yep. So for everybody, thank our guest Mark McFarlane from October 15.
Hello.
And until next time, he's Super.
He's Ginge.
And we're out of here. Bye.
Hey!